So Anthropic has just shipped Claude Design last week, and half the internet is locked out of it already. Adobe has just turned every major AI model into a marketing agent, and 6,000 CEOs have quietly admitted that AI has done absolutely nothing for their productivity. Stick around, I'm going to show you what people are actually building using Claude Design and why every review this weekend is saying the same thing. If you don't know who I am, my name's Gavin. I'm the founder of Ideal in Digital. And what I do is I go into businesses and help them embed AI and adopt it within their business and marketing functions. And welcome to the Daily Dose. This is the daily AI show that I put out to you to make sure that you understand what's happening in the world of AI and make sure it's relevant to you and your work. But let's first jump on in. So Claude Design, huge weekend coming through. And there wasn't kind of a big shout about it. People were kind of finding it, realizing that they could only use it within the browser instead of the desktop app. It's in research preview at the moment. It's available right now if you're on Claude Pro, Max, Team, or Enterprise. And it is powered by the brilliant Claude Opus 4.7, which was released last week too. Right, so the basic idea with Claude Design is you just describe what it is that you want. Then Claude generates the first version, and then you can refine it by doing edits or moving it to a PowerPoint, moving it to Canva and doing the edits within there. The good thing here is that it's all done through natural language. And what Anthropic actually gives as an example for the prompt is prototype a serene mobile meditation app, calming typography, subtle nature, inspired colors, and a clean layout. And then what it does is it goes and builds it for you. So you can do lots more with it. You could say add a dark mode toggle and it'll then add it into it really intuitively. And again, this brings non-technical users into the game when it comes to building what it is that they want and also just creating much more productivity as a result. The part that matters to anyone that's running a brand, running a business, maybe a team or an agency, somebody who has lots of clients like myself, Claude Design can read your code base and the design files and then apply that to the system or to the project that you want to create. Now, you can hold more than one design system, which makes it perfect if you have multiple clients. And I've already done this already for a couple of my clients. I've got my own kind of branding, my own guidelines, my own system. And then I've then created one for each of my clients using their branding guidelines, their tone of voice, the colors, the typography, the fonts, everything like that has been added into those specific client folders already. And then what's really good is that once you have a design specifically, you can then export that design to PDF. You can do it a shareable URL if you want to share it with somebody, PowerPoint naturally, or what I really love is straight into Canva, because I find that the design files that you're creating, it gets you about 80–90% of the way there. You always want to kind of tweak a few little things. Maybe something isn't aligned quite as right and it just doesn't make sense to do a whole prompt to make an aligning adjustment. So you can move that straight into Canva. And with the new features coming to Canva 2.0 AI has been released as well. There's so much more you can do with your designs, and this just gets you on your way with that. You don't have to kind of look at a blank canvas anymore and just think up a design. This is going to get you so much closer, so much quicker. Now, what's also really interesting to see, or you could see here is the bigger context thing, is Anthropic's chief product officer just left Figma's board because this particular announcement was coming. And then Bloomberg also reported last week that Anthropic is fielding offers at an $800 billion valuation. You can see how this is going to catapult this brand or this business into everybody's computer because they're going to want to be able to use these particular features. So, which quite rightly here, this is their opening shot at design, prosumer, and creative teams. It's going to get into the pockets of so many more people than it has before. And I said in a previous video, the AI race, the company that wins the AI race is the one that you can seamlessly just log into. It integrates with all the other tools and systems that you are using, and you can then use it day to day. That's who's going to win it. And I think Anthropic is doing a fantastic job. However, the big however with this particular update, and the one that a lot of people are screaming about at the moment, and a lot of reviews that I've read as well, and I've also experienced this myself, and that is the dreaded usage limits. So to give you a little bit of context of what I said previously, I ran into this myself. I fed it my own brand guidelines, my style preferences, and then what I said earlier, I gave a couple of clients brand guidelines and their style preferences in there too, and I created those two systems. And I ran out of context like that. So all you can see here is that you watch your usage meter absolutely shrink. And if I show you actually my Claude at the moment, you can see right here under Claude Design, it resets next week. I have 7 days and I can't use Claude Design anymore. I've tested out a little bit, but it's just run out and I've used that all at the moment. If I click onto the eye here, you can see Claude Design is in research preview with its own weekly limit. Usage here doesn't count towards your other limits. So that's one thing to note, is that this is completely separate to your current usage. And you can see my usage limits here where I'm at the moment with that. So this is a big issue. If you want people to adopt a system or a tool like this, you can't lock them out for 7 days after they've just tried it for all of 10, 20, 30 minutes. And we can see here in some of the reviews that are coming through here is that this particular PC World reviewer burned through their weekly Claude Design quota on the Pro plan within 30 minutes. They gave it 4 prompts, and yeah, this particular design agency got through 4 prompts before they were locked out from it. And this is the big thing, is that 7 days. There's no overage, you can't pay for more use. I saw one particular review where they were saying, why don't we, if we give feedback, if we give complete surveys and give that type of feedback, it then unlocks more usage. That would be a good way to gather as much data and feedback about this particular research preview and then gift more usage as a result. But with people running out within a handful of prompts, I don't know, it's problematic. In my opinion. So you'll most likely see these types of notifications coming through when you're using it saying you've hit your usage limit. But if you want to do what I didn't do, because I just jumped straight into it, I would take this practical angle here. So before you open Claude Design, have a brief, have the references, have all your brand assets and exact prompt written out in a document. You can then paste that in and let it build. So kind of you one-shot it in this particular case. Don't do what I've seen myself, what I've done and what others have done, and kind of use it as continuous prompting. So I had my one shot, but there was some slight tweaks that I wanted to do with that, and that just completely rinsed my usage as a result. So treat it like a slot machine with 4 pulls, not a creative partner that you can chat with for an hour. It's just not going to work right now. So I am eager to get into the examples of this next week when my usage resets, and we'll be able to see what we can produce from that. But as we know, Anthropic will tune these limits. You will get more. They'll probably have a tier or bake it into the plans that you've got already. And yeah, we'll see this come in. So everyone, and that's Claude Design in a nutshell. If you've experienced this type of pain already, let me know in the comments below. What did you get up to? Did you design? Did you get any outputs yet? And just let me know how you're feeling about it all. In terms of next segment, so segment number 2 is Adobe just made every major AI model a marketing agent. So they launched something called CX Enterprise at a summit in Las Vegas. And it's the biggest enterprise AI move that we've seen so far, or that we've had in quite a few weeks, in my opinion. And for context, over 20,000 global brands run on Adobe Experience Cloud, and their underlying platform powers more than 1 trillion customer experiences a year. And just this week, they rebuilt that whole stack around agents. Okay, so here's what is actually going to be shipped. So first, we're going to get a catalog of these AI agents, these specialist AI agents, and they're going to be built into all of the Adobe applications across content. We're going to see that in customer engagement. We're going to see that in brand side of things too. On the second side of things, we're going to see Adobe CX Enterprise Coworker. Oh, that's an absolute mouthful. What you're going to do is you're going to give that a business goal, like increase, as we can see here, cross-sell performance by 3%. It's then going to go and work with itself, and it's going to coordinate with all the other agents. That's then going to assemble the audience, the creative, the campaign, and the reporting. Almost like the entire customer journey from there. And all you need to do is then approve the plan, it then executes it, and it goes off and keeps monitoring it as a result. Some really cool things then. We're seeing how these agents are really coming into 2026 more and more. And then last but not least, and in my opinion, the bit that matters for anybody who watches this show, is that we are going to see the Adobe Marketing Agent showing up in the tools and the apps that we use on the regular. So we can see that they've partnered with Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, AWS, IBM, and NVIDIA. And you're going to be seeing the marketing agent for Adobe show up in ChatGPT. We're going to see it in Claude Enterprise. We'll see it in Gemini, in IBM, all these other places. You're going to see it and be able to use it within those particular tools. Huge unlock if you are an Adobe user. We've got a quote here from the president of Adobe Digital Experience is, Adobe CX Enterprise enables businesses to scale agentic AI with a fully customizable solution that is tailored to the needs of their organization, moving teams beyond AI experiments to tangible business outcomes. And this is really important because we're seeing so many reports now where people are just kind of playing with AI, but they're not embedding it within their business. They're kind of dabbling with ChatGPT, they're dabbling with Claude, but they're not actively looking at the workflows within their business and then building AI into it and then getting results from it as well. Which brings us on really nicely to the third segment. But before we go there, I want to make sure that we take this particular practical angle. Before we do that, I want to make sure that we take that particular practical angle. So if you run or work inside a marketing agency or a brand team, your entire tech stack just got an agent layer bolted on top. It's going to be really interesting to see these use case studies within all of this. So we'll see all this kind of manual content, the supply chain, the briefs, the variants, the performance reviews, the reporting. That's all going to be just gone because these agents will be doing it for you. It's absolutely pertinent in these lean teams, especially within startups or even larger, but these particular manual elements are eradicated and you build the content, you build the marketing really quickly. So this is exactly where these agents are designed specifically to take that manual thing that your team is doing and automate it. It's not there to take jobs. It's there to help the people using those tools. It's there to help the people using those tools to get to the result quicker, experiment more, and get better results for themselves, but also for their clients. So I would say get ready for this once it's released. So pick one workflow this week where your agents could cut the middle part out, which is that manual admin piece. Not to replace your team, but to free them up for the work you cannot price by the hour. And on that, I think we need to move over to this third segment, which is 6,000 CEOs admitted that AI has done nothing for their productivity. Well, hopefully they'll be using this new Adobe CX Enterprise to get that productivity up. But I have seen this personally in the work that I've been doing and in the industry at the moment. So in my opinion, this is the stat of the week. So the National Bureau of Economic Research surveyed around 6,000 executives across the US, across the UK, across Germany, and Australia. So we're talking CEOs, CFOs, heads of business, COOs, CMOs, any sort of CXO of any type. They managed to get them into this particular survey. And what they found is that nearly 90% of those firms said that AI had absolutely no impact on employment or productivity over the past 3 years. About 2/3 of the executives, they said that they use AI, but only for about 1.5 hours per week. And then 25% said that they do not use it whatsoever. That's absolutely mind-blowing based on the work that I've been doing. And I understand that, yes, I'm very deep into the world of AI, but all these businesses not utilizing the capabilities of AI within their business are losing out so much. You can see so many improvement gains, productivity gains, revenue gains as a result of having AI speed things up. Now, the reason I'm talking about this today is that Fortune picked up this particular news article, and what they said, it reminded economists of something called Solov's productivity paradox from 1987. So this is Robert Solov on the photo here, and he said at the time, all the way back then about the computer age, he said that you can see the computer age everywhere but in the productivity statistics. And that's really interesting because you can see Apollo's chief economist Torsten Slok has copied and pasted that line for AI. So they said AI is everywhere except in the incoming macroeconomic data. Today, you don't see AI in the employment data, productivity data, or inflation data either. And on that, it gets even more interesting because Boston Consulting Group surveyed 1,488 workers. And what they found is that productivity went up when people used 3 or fewer AI tools. With 4 or more, what they found is that tools and productivity actually dropped as a result. So workers reported brain fog, they saw small mistakes creeping in, and then we also saw in the 2026 Global Talent Barometer from Manpower, they saw that across 14,000 workers in 19 countries, they found regular AI use went up 13% last year, while confidence in the tools fell by 18%. And I can see that we are getting drowned quite massively in all these different AI tools. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried this new shiny thing? And we do get distracted by all these AI tools. So I would definitely say, as a practical angle. Pick one workflow. I always start with that. What's the thing that you're using day to day? Pick one workflow. Maybe it's a weekly report, maybe it's a proposal draft, a client brief, your social content production, and try and rebuild that so it runs on only one AI tool. Reduce the list of tools that you're using so then you don't procrastinate, you don't move from one tool to another tool. You have this kind of context switching when it comes to UI and user experience too. But try and rebuild it so it runs on one AI tool, has one owner, and you've got a written SOP down so anybody that wants to use it can also follow it and measure it, and then just see. Try it for 30 days. See what happens too. Try this rule. Try 3 tools maximum. Stop buying more stuff. Stop wasting your money on it and kind of switching between these different tools, and then start shipping and working on one thing. Try and become productive on the particular workflow that you are creating. Okay, so before we close, I do want to kind of quickly run over what people are actually building using Claude Design. I promised that at the beginning of today's show, and here's what we can see is currently being built based on the usage that people have been able to get. The first one is from PC World's review. So a chap called Ben Patterson fed Claude Design a single sentence that creates an interactive graphic that explains AI tokens to everyday users. And then about 25 minutes later, he had kind of 3 full variations of an interactive editorial, web page, typography layout, a live interactive element where users can then type a word and watch the token count change in real time. This is fantastic for educating individuals on what tokens are, how they relate to sentences and words, and I love the visual creative here. So we can see the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, and we can then see how these particular tokens are used, specifically taking note of the punctuation, which also adds to your token usage. Then gives you the explanation here, which is really, really cool. I think what people are not talking about enough is the question flow at the start. So Claude Design doesn't just take your prompt and it just goes and runs it. It's going to pepper you with a multiple choice questions, who the target audience is, what format, what interactions, what style, how expansive the design actually wants to be. And that step alone is worth watching because it's going to teach you how to brief the design over time. And then naturally, you're going to be using less tokens and less usage from Claude. Okay, now a little bit of a critical view. So from a company called workspace.hr, what they did is they ran a proper test with their full design system JSON file as the input. And what they found is their line, and this is what they quoted, is that component fidelity is a gap within this system. Claude Design built elements resembling our components, but they didn't match any of them exactly. So we can see here, quote, a button with the wrong borders radius, padding, and font weight is not a button from your design system. It is a made-up button wearing a costume. We can see the differences here in what was created and what the original was and what the output was. Not quite hitting the mark in this particular case. They also said, or kind of a second call out in this case, is that every output from Claude Design looks quite similar. So you get the same rounded corners, the same card shadows, the same section rhythm across completely different briefs. And that's because they're getting the same training data, and therefore you're getting the kind of same safe choices as a result. So their conclusion from this particular business, it's fair, but they said it is a better prototyping tool than anything before it, but the brain still needs to stay human. And that's it for today's episode. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I'll be dropping these daily AI videos, the daily dose, to keep you up to date with what's happening in the world of AI. Thank you so much. Take care.